Sabrina 70s comic, issue 77. The final issue of the comic, as far as I can see. The story starts out with Hilda saying that Christmas tree's a pretty one, appreciating beauty for once. And Ambrose does some zapping as well. Sabrina says they need more tinsel over here, and she puts an angel statue on top, which irritates Hilda, so she makes it look different. It's nice of Sabrina to not bother her over this, and keep it the same, and still say that it's the best tree in the neighborhood. She says she's all prepared for Christmas except for one thing. She doesn't know what to get Harvey for Christmas. I don't know, how about a magical charm that gets him to stop cheating on you? Hilda makes a snarky remark and immediately says with a smile that she was only kidding because she feels like humoring Sabrina more on Christmas. She zaps up ties, and Sabrina says that of course Harvey wouldn't know what to do with one. I have a question. Why doesn't Sabrina just ask Harvey what exactly he wants? It should be explained that she did, and he said he doesn't know. You'd think that if she really loved him, she'd know him well enough to be able to figure out what kind of thing he'd want in general. Ambrose jokes around by summoning up a lady for him because that would appeal to a young man. Sabrina says that's not funny, which hopefully explains that he did that just as a joke. Because obviously zapping up a new girlfriend for him wouldn't be what Sabrina would want. Harvey shows up at her door and tells her that he's giving her a book, so she's happy about it. We have seen her reading before, so it makes sense that he thought she'd want that, and that's nice of him to remember. He says that he thinks he'll like it because it's the funniest, silliest book he ever saw, and it's about witches. He claims it's silly, but it'd be more interesting if he thought she'd like it because, erased memories or not, he still remembered a connection between witches and Sabrina. Because when you lose your memory, you don't stop finding familiar things familiar. He says that he didn't read the book because that would make it a second-hand gift. So, he says that it's even got drawings of people that are supposed to have lived 800 or 900 years ago. It sure is convenient that he found this book. I wish he wasn't being so rude saying it's nonsense and some people will believe in anything. Considering that he believes in aliens, and even alien vampires, it makes no sense that he would think the idea of witches is nonsense. Sabrina opens the book and says oops, and then closes it quickly saying that she shouldn't be seeing her Christmas gift before Christmas. Why didn't he show up at Christmas Day? The story confused me into thinking that it was Christmas. Witches could totally get away with only preparing for Christmas in their house on the day it's happening. The story ends with Sabrina seeing an aunt and uncle of hers, and Hilda saying, "That's me in 1249. I still look just as pretty as I did then." And Ambrose doesn't know why Harvey thinks this great book is funny. So it's her photo album. So Hilda was alive in 1249. Let me do the math here because I'm pretty sure this is contradicting the earlier statements on her age. 1976 minus 1249 equals 727. So that was around 724 years ago. And she looked the same way. Apparently this is a different parallel universe from some other stories. This story implies that she's at most 900 years old. I think this is taking place in 1977 or 78. So you should add 2 to that number. Really early on it was stated that she was a teenager 400 years ago. In the comedy page, Hilda's annoyed that Sabrina hung up 4 stockings for Christmas when the rule is 1 stocking per person. Then Sabrina uses magic to duplicate herself and make all the duplicates say, "We know." In the next story, Ambrose calls his family troops for no reason and says that they've all been dragging their feet. And Christmas is almost among them and they have to get organized, but they put up the tree last story. Hilda says that she has the traditional bent spider cookies made. She asks what's left to be done. He says that they haven't wrapped the gifts yet. They didn't save much gift wrap from last year, stupidly. Sabrina says that she should go to the store and get some. And Ambrose somehow thinks that's an excellent suggestion, instead of anyone around her suggesting just zapping up some gift wrap paper. Sabrina could explain that she likes paying people for their goods and that's why she insists on buying stuff. Because zapping stuff up is kind of like piracy of goods. She says out loud near someone walking by that's hard to be a witch when the world is full of love at Christmas, with no one staring for some reason. She says it's exciting and it's hard to get waited on when there's so many people shopping. She casts a spell saying that she'll have some stuff that she's floating right above her, in front of everyone. Then she teleports some dollars and cents to the cashier from her wallet. Either that or it's all counterfeit, and thanks the cashier in front of everyone. I guess the spy witches erased people's memories of that. The Clark just thinks the Christmas rush has finally got her seeing things, and she somehow anticipated this. But she's in front of a whole bunch of witnesses who just say that they saw the same thing. Sabrina goes home, with Ambrose considerately telling her to eat lunch first and doing the same for Hilda. Then Hilda hates the gift-wrapped paper she went through the trouble of buying because she's a proudly stereotypical witch, and the paper has cutesy pie, elves, and smiles. And yet she said the Christmas tree was beautiful last story. I assume this is a prequel to it. Hilda casts a spell to make Christmas wrapping that a witch could be proud of, totally ignoring that Sabrina wouldn't appreciate weird and scary wrapping. Sabrina wants to wrap Harvey's gifts and doesn't like the gift-wrapped paper of headstones and skulls, asking what Harvey would think. Ambrose returns it to normal for her, and the story ends. You'd think it would be a funnier ending if Harvey reacted to the gift-wrapped paper. In the next story, after Sabrina likes seeing kids like a mall Santa, we see all the balloons that the kids got from Santa spontaneously break at once. Sabrina assumes that the manager intentionally handed out bad balloons, when she should suspect from how all the balloons suspiciously popped at once that witchcraft could be involved. She even foreshadowed it by reminding the audience that witches are pressured to not be affected by sentimental things for some reason. Sabrina doesn't believe her that they're top quality, and realizes that every time the mall Santa hands out a balloon, he gives it the pinky zap. So she realizes he is an evil witch, and he says it's funnier than zapping cows to give sour milk. Sabrina wastes panels redundantly complaining that he's evil, while he should be able to hear her and react. And she casts a spell so that every popped balloon would have a coupon for any $5 toy in the store. Wait, wouldn't that be more than the store could handle? I hope the coupons look identical to actual coupons in the store, or they wouldn't be accepted and there'd be a lot of sad kids. Wouldn't the store get a big loss from all those kids taking free toys? She didn't think it through. Can we at least see the kids get the toys? The balloons were worth pennies apiece, apparently. So realistically, the mall Santa is called out on potentially bankrupting the mall, handing out $5 toys to each child. So he gets fired on the spot. At least the writer thought this through. And I guess Sabrina was just taunting him by offering him a balloon. But she knows he's a witch, so she's much better off teleporting away after erasing his memory of what she looks like, or he'll inevitably get revenge. The next story has Hilda beg Sabrina for help just outside the front door because she's too cold to move. She dragged Hilda over to the fireplace so she could thaw out. That was dark. Hilda said she was flying around and flew into a blizzard and couldn't see where she was going. That doesn't explain why she didn't just warp home. Sabrina lampshades that she should know better than to fly in cold weather. Yeah, especially after she complained about it last time. And Hilda says that she was trying to go Christmas shopping. Sabrina considerately gives her hot tea to drink, as I wonder why she was trying to do the Christmas shopping when it's usually Sabrina. And Hilda says that they're going south to avoid the cold weather. Last time this idea came up, Hilda refused to let the cold weather drive her away. But now she has every reason to change her mind. I hope Della doesn't bother them and force them to cause mischief again. She warps Sabrina to a warm place in front of witnesses and says they'll find a nice place to stay and enjoy Christmas anyways. They're seen in summer clothes later on. And Sabrina complains about the artificial trees, even though real-life artificial trees look exactly like real ones. I'd know. So obviously the artist has never seen a fake Christmas tree before. Sabrina talks for a long time about what she likes about Christmas. The story ends with Hilda summoning all that stuff for her on the beach in front of witnesses. Presumably the next thing that happens is Della warping to her and telling her to undo things and just go home because she's attracting attention. I wish the previous issue was the final issue. It's underwhelming to have the final issue be just a bunch of typical Christmas stories that could have been on any Christmas issue. But I was so relieved that it wasn't as dialogue heavy and off-putting as the previous issue could be. And instead was back to being the Sabrina comic I know. The first story ended up abandoning its plot about Sabrina trying to figure out what to get Harvey as a Christmas gift. Because we'll never learn the answer. And she didn't simply ask him what he wanted. Instead, Harvey gives her a book that turns out to be an old photo album of her witch family, with Hilda in it. How convenient. Too bad he acted obnoxious thinking that the idea of witches is silly and dumb, when he believes in aliens and vampires. And probably bought the book because he subconsciously remembers that weird things happen around her. The continuity error at the end with Hilda's age kinda makes it seem like the story wasn't worth it. In the second story, Sabrina uses magic to get her gift wrap shopping done much faster. And then Hilda briefly changes the paper to look like what a stereotypical witch would want, ignoring the fact that obviously it wouldn't be appreciated and stay that way. But Harvey never gets to see it. In the third story, it turns out a mall Santa is an evil witch who curses the balloons handed to the kids to all pop after a set amount of time. So Sabrina, after coming to a stupid conclusion at first, finally figures out what's happening, and hatches a clever scheme. She uses magic to hide coupons in the balloons, which gets the mall Santa fired because they would bankrupt the mall if they were all used. Wait, does that actually mean that the mall ends up bankrupt? Or are all the kids disappointed by their coupons being rejected? Or did she mean that he'd make the mall go bankrupt if he kept doing it? I was impressed by the plot twist. I knew magic was involved, but I assumed Della had put a curse on her to make her presence pop all those balloons. Still, I hate that the villain of the story was just a jerk for no good reason, possibly because Della is stupidly pressuring witches to be evil. The final story is about Hilda getting fed up with the cold weather after she was found in front of Sabrina's front door, unable to move, and yet still standing in front of it. And I guess the hot tea was magical, because it instantly cured her hypothermia with no hospital trip. This could have been pretty dark, so I'm glad it was offset, but that should have been explained properly. Anyways, she warps Sabrina to Hawaii, but Sabrina whines about what she likes about Christmas for an eternity, so Hilda gives her what she wants while still in Hawaii again. So you'd think she'd know that she'd get a visit from Della for attracting attention with a blizzard there. I guess Della was too busy to warp to her and demand her to do some mischief again. Next up is the Sabrina animated series comic. And I hope most of it is good because I didn't get a good impression of it at first. It better have a lot of magic in its stories, and a lot of moments where Hilda and Zelda are being nice. Sabrina's Holiday Spectacular. I hope this isn't one of the later comics that's trying to be dark and edgy for no reason. No, this is actually an early comic. The art style still isn't quite perfect, but